Okay, this lesson is on equations of parallel and perpendicular lines. Parallel and perpendicular lines have special relationships. Parallel lines have the same slope. If I know the slope of one line, I know it's parallel to another line that has the same slope. The symbol for parallel will be two slanted lines next to each other. Perpendicular lines have what we call negative reciprocal slopes. That simply means you flip it over and change the sign. So if it's a whole number, you turn it into a fraction. If it's positive, you make it a negative. If it's already a fraction, you flip it over and change its sign. The symbol for perpendicular is two intersecting lines that form a right triangle. All right. Before we actually do stuff, the same slopes are easy, but I want to figure out how to find the perpendicular slope from a given slope. All right. So it's negative reciprocals. Here, my first one is a -3. Since it's a whole number, we turn it into a fraction and change the negative to a positive. Next one is 2/3. It's positive. So the answer, my slope's going to be a negative, and we flip it over 3/2. The next one is -1/6. We flip that over, and we're going to get 6, and it's going to be positive. The next one is negative. It's a fraction. We flip the fraction over, and it stays, and now it becomes positive. So perpendicular, you flip it over and make the sign different. You change its sign. So what we're going to do is use the fact that the two lines are parallel or perpendicular to find the equation of a line. You'll be given a point and you'll be told whether it's parallel or perpendicular. And we're still going to use this form. Whoops. We're still going to use this formula. So none of that has changed. Now let's just walk through the process. All right, number 1 says find the equation of a line through the point -2, 6, given it is parallel to the given line. Now parallel, parallel have the same slope. Well, in this problem, the m is 1/2. So I've got to take this 1/2 and this -2, 6 and write the equation of a line. Remember, it's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So the y in this case is 6. We just figured out the slope was 1/2. It's the same. Now, my x is -2, but there's a negative in the parentheses, so those two negatives become a positive. So it's going to be +2. All right, do the distributive property. 1/2 times 2 is just 1. And then we're going to add 6 to both sides, and we'll get +7. This is the equation of the line through that specific point, and they have the same slope. They have to have the same slope because they're parallel. So the only thing different now than the other ones is we have to find the slope based on whether it's parallel or perpendicular. Let's look at another one. Let me write the formula down. All right, let me just show you sometimes what I do. The slope of this given line is 4. Since it's parallel, that means the parallel slope is also 4. I just kind of write that over to the side so I can remind myself. Okay, so we've got the point, and we've now got the slope. Now notice in the point that the y is negative, so this is going to become positive 3. We know the slope is 4. Then we got an x minus 8. Do the distributive property. And then you're going to subtract 3 from both sides. So we're going to get 4x minus 35. So they have the same slope. Now this one's a little bit different. This is not in the proper form. If it's not y equals, you got to solve for y. And I'm not liking this problem at all. No, it's okay. So we got to go back to what we did previously by rewriting the equation to solve for y. So we move the 2x over, and we move the 6 over. And we divide everything by negative 3. So y will be 2/3 x plus 2. Alright, now here is the slope, and they're parallel, so 2/3 is what I use in my formula. Alright, so the y in the point is negative, it's 4. We just figured out the slope was 2/3. And and x turns out to be 1. Yeah, I'm not liking this problem at all, but that's okay. Do the distributive property. 2/3 x minus 2/3. Okay, so we got to move the 4 over. So this is what we're going to end up with. Y equals 2/3 x minus 2/3 plus 4. Now, we have to get a common denominator. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, 4 is the same as 12/3. And I'm running out of room, so all you got to do next is add these two numbers together. A little blackout there. I don't know what happened. I don't know if y'all saw that or not. Now, let's do some perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines are the ones that are different. On the perpendicular, you flip the slope and turn it into and change its sign. So let's just look over here. Now, this is the slope of this equation. I'm told from that equation my slope is -2. So my perpendicular slope, I flip it over and make the sign positive. So what we end up with is, this is the slope we're going to use in my formula. So it's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Alright. Now the y is 5. We just figured out the slope was 1/2. And the x is 6. Do the distributive property. 1/2 x. 1/2 of -6 is -3. Then we're going to add 5 to both sides, and we'll get plus 2. All right. So we flipped this number and changed the sign. Let's do another. I'm going to write the formula down here first. Okay. Okay, so let's pick out the slope from this given line. The slope is 1/3. I'm given that based on the fact, of that line. But I want the perpendicular slope, which would be -3. Now let's plug the numbers in. Now both those numbers are negatives in the point, so these are all going to be plus signs. Do the distributive property. Now we're going to move the 5 over by subtracting it from both sides. I'm not showing that, but I'm saying it, so if you need to listen to this again, we're subtracting 5 from both sides, and we'll get -32. So these two lines are perpendicular. Their slopes are negative reciprocals of each other. Now, the last one I've got here is, hold on. Well, I don't know how to get rid of that. Well, let's do this. Okay. So the last one is giving me the point, and it's giving me an equation, but it's not in the proper form. And this one's going to be jacked up. So what I want to do is I want to change this. No, that's fine. First, let's rewrite this solving for y. So we move the x over, becomes positive. Move the 8 over, becomes negative. Divide everything by 2. So we'll get y equals 1/2 x minus 4. Now the only thing I'm interested in is this is the slope. This is the slope of the given formula. But I want the parallel slope. Well, the parallel slope, not parallel, perpendicular slope. Perpendicular slope would be -2. So you find the slope of the given line, and then you decide whether it's parallel or perpendicular. So now over here in my formula, we're going to have y minus 3 equals -2 times x minus 7. Do the distributive property. Whoops, let me fix that. And then add 3 to both sides, and we'll get 17. So, perpendicular. Flip the sign, flip the number. All right. Probably on the test or the quiz or whatever we have, I'll have one parallel and one perpendicular more than likely. So go over this as many times as you need to. Email me if you got questions. I'll put some homework up on this. And we'll see how it goes.